segue to the internet and how that affects your responsibilities and rights as a consumer online. So as we've heard today, consumer protection often centers around what you know and being aware and protecting yourself. And that is especially true on the internet because a lot of people that you're interacting with is not someone like right in front of you. You don't know who's on the other end of the computer. And sometimes that's fine because it's a reputable seller. And so it's great. Like this is actually making your life easier and more convenient because you can just do this transaction online. But other times it's some mysterious third party in China who is just trying to get all your information and run with it. So it's really important that you kind of check out the red flags. And I'll be going over some of those today, and all of these can be applied throughout all these different topics that we're each talking about. So I kind of wanted to cover like the main things that you do on the internet, which includes spending and saving online, entering into contracts online, communicating and socializing, computing on the go, so using computers at libraries or just not your own personal devices, and then using your phone while on the internet. And the overall goal of my section is just to learn really easy ways to kind of keep yourself safe and just be aware while you're using these things because the internet can be so great and it really just makes things so convenient, but it's also just a super easy forum for someone to kind of snatch your information and run with it. And a lot of people kind of just throw their information and their credit card numbers on there, and once it's on the internet, it's there. So it's just something to always be thinking in the back of your head of things you can do. So I found a news clip that took place on over Thanksgiving weekend, and as everyone knows, that Cyber Monday is when all those online sales go up. And so some newscasters were just kind of talking about frauds and scams that were going on over that weekend that were being highlighted. And I just thought it was kind of fun, and then you don't have to listen to me talk. But basically they kind of talk about this role of how social media is kind of highlighting all these specials online. So if you're on Facebook, a lot of businesses are also on Facebook, and if you like this, then you get this, and a lot of emails were going out. So I just thought it was a fun little segment to kind of help us realize how much stuff is happening in regards to consumption online. But we could all just...
Do you have the link for that? Maybe that's something we could share with everyone who's here.
I can provide it later.
Yeah. Okay.
Perfect.
So this was a great demonstration of how the internet sometimes fails.
So keep those safer copies.
This is planned. Totally planned. We talked about it all along.
Yes. So first I would like to talk about spending and saving online. And during these transactions, you may be required to provide sensitive data or information. What I'm talking about there is just like your address or your banking information. And all of these are perfectly fine if you're doing this with a reputable seller. It makes sense that you're giving your banking information in order to get shoes. But sometimes there's people asking for this information and it doesn't quite make sense. Like you're asking for my social security card number and I want to buy flip-flops. So if there's that disconnect there, that should be a red flag that something may not be right. And sometimes it is just a gut feeling with internet interactions that something is not right here. So has anyone ever purchased something online? Lots of people. And nowadays lots of people are using their banking information online. I have not gone to my bank in 2 or 3 years because all of my transactions are over the internet and I don't worry about it and they send it through my email. And all of this is fine and dandy unless something goes wrong. And that's kind of the frustrating part is all of these online things are so great until like you wake up and your bank account information's missing and your money's gone. And it's kind of like one of those like crap moments because you're like, this is so great until it's not. Welcome to the real world. So just quick tips with spending and saving online. We just want to make sure we read the terms, print the transactions, review your monthly bank statements just to kind of like weed out weird transactions. And some of the scams are like, you ever see someone spent like 1 cent at a gas station? Has anyone ever had that happen? Yes, that was like my bank's like, someone has your credit card. And so I was able to shut that down really quickly. So just looking at these things and being aware is really helpful in the long run. And then using your personal device can also be great because a lot of people forget to log out or clear their cookies, and if it's on your own computer, it's less of this danger zone than if you're on a public library computer where someone's jumping on right after you and look, you were just on your bank account and I can see in the history of the website that that's where you were and you're already logged in. This is excellent. So just being aware of what you're using and where you're typing in your information can be really helpful. And a lot of the time you just want to make sure that you're using a safe website or a safe transaction place. So seeing that there's an HTTPS, it just means that it's a secure web page. So anything you type into that web page is locked in with antivirus, all these protections that the company has paid for and made sure that this information cannot be pulled out of. Also making sure that, just as a quick tip, Amazon, for example, you can track your orders at all times. That is amazing that you are able to be like, where is my product? It's been 2 weeks. They let you know, and just kind of being aware of what are these services and are they tracking who I pay to, where I'm getting my stuff from. Also, if there's a customer service contact point, that's huge. If a web page isn't offering a human person to be in touch with, that's a major red flag that this person does not exist. This is someone on a yacht stealing your stuff happily and you can't reach them. And then another, again, these policies trigger. So if you see a web page has policies, that is a good sign that they are reputable, that they do business for a living. They don't do scams for a living. And so again, just making sure, like, who are you doing this transaction with while spending money? So Craigslist, you are not doing a transaction with Craigslist. You are doing it with an individual person. And so they have less control over how your transaction occurs. If you buy shoes on Zappos, Zappos is the online seller. So if something went wrong, you're contacting Zappos for that. So just being really cognitive of who you are interacting with is excellent for all of these online services. And then making sure, again, this gut feeling, why are they asking for this information if it just makes so much sense? Oh, they want my shoe size and I'm buying shoes. That is excellent. They want your social security number. That is bizarre. And then again, like lots of places like Craigslist has a huge list of like red flags for when you're using their website. Like if you see this or that, like you're probably dealing with a sketchy other user on the other side of the screen. This next portion I'll be talking about is online contracts. So this can occur everywhere. Every time you're online, you probably enter into some sort of contract and aren't even really aware of what you're signing into. And so these are different examples of places where you could be entering into contracts, and I'll go into more specific examples. So the other day I was at Starbucks and I just wanted to quickly check my email, and this popped up, and I was in order to use their internet service. And of course I just clicked the Wi-Fi now. So how many of you think that this is an online contract? So by clicking this need help, it entered on to about 16 pages of terms I was agreeing to while being on Starbucks internet Wi-Fi. So just whenever you're kind of entering these connect or these clicks or these pop-ups, you're most likely entering into a contract of some sort. And so just again, being aware that every time you click I agree, I accept, you're agreeing to these terms. And nowadays it's interesting because all these online contracts, they just don't feel the same way as like when you sign a formal contract, but they have the exact same weight.
Excuse me, how do they know that it's you? Rather than a signature, if you just click on that, you know, in real life, it's a signature that says you.
Because you're certifying that it's you. Basically, at the same time you're clicking that, you're saying this really is me.
And often it's kind of a one-way contract.
Yeah.
Like I'm agreeing to all these things on their behalf so that I could use their Wi-Fi.
Right.
And so it's often like...
So it's back to like an X. If you put an X on a
Yeah, it's
contract
like,
line
you
for a
know,
mortgage,
you have the keys to the
then
you have
that
the keys
counts
to the
now.
car, now you gotta drive safely. That's sort of how the law looks at these things with. And that's this is what they call under the contract law click wrap agreements. And indeed, yeah, when you click that, they're putting the onus on you to also hit the link to go look at the terms and conditions and to be sort of safe and to certify that that's you, that you're of age. If you read that, it'll say I am over 8. You know, they'll have that I'm a certified age and I certify that nothing I'm saying is fraudulent or wrong. there you go. And they have a trail that it's coming from your computer, and there's a difficulty if you have children who are online.
Right, or you leave your phone
certified
out
for you.
or something.
Yeah, I mean, and this, there you go. So, no, this is online contracting, and under the law, there are different, you know, it can get complicated. It usually would be worth your time and money to try to combat it, because a lot of they're probably going to win with ClickWrap.
Because I think there's a delay in verifying the people that are signing it. In technology is ahead of the verification process of who it really is.
That's definitely the case.
Yeah, okay.
Technology's ahead of us a lot. And again, it goes back to some of the things Michelle originally pointed out about watching out who you contract with and who you buy things from. And this was brought up earlier, a great point somebody else had raised about just simply doing a Google search. Simply finding out from DORA or the Better Business Bureau, making sure that this is legit, you know, and that's really an important point before you even click that I accept or anything else, and actually going to see what you just accepted.
I probably gave away my firstborn child.
Yeah, well, and
with.
they did a study just to see what people would do, and it was really funny because it was one of these to see if people would buy something where actually if you looked at the terms of agreement, you did give away your firstborn child and like all these other ridiculous things. And it was a bunch of contracts professors, dorks like me, and we did this research, and yeah, people just click willy-nilly. Sure, I'll give away my naming rights to my family, and it was like everything, and they had no idea.
And I mean, I think the Starbucks things is a lot of protection for them in case you're doing fraudulent stuff in their store using their Wi-Fi. But some of them, like Ivory White, a little pop-up, and you get a free sample. Well, when you click that, yes, what you're saying is, along with that free sample, is going to be is coming a month's supply that you're going to have to pay for or return it within 10 days. You may not even get the product for 10 days, but you've clicked that little box, so you're responsible.
Yep, I've had people come to, they like didn't know that they signed up for free horoscopes every month, and like, I mean, totally just things random, right? But again, it's being careful, and when all those little things, you know, it's easy to sort of get click happy, as we say, but you have to be really careful what you click in.
So I think that's a really great segue to the point that terms almost always favor that other body that you're clicking, I accept, I agree, or yes to. And again, this is really hard to do, but to read the terms, that is asking a lot of people, but it's a good, I mean, this is her advice. I would never read them, but I suggest if it's a big deal that you are reading these terms, if it's a financial service, you are reading these terms. Doing business with reputable sites, that is key to preventing a lot of these things and just being aware and like that gut feeling basic. So another part of this I agree, I accept is whenever you have a login or you have an account with a business or a website, you are often agreeing to all of those terms to that site. So if you just think about every single place you have a login to, Facebook, your bank, just there are so many places that you can list, you've agreed to all of those terms. So this is just an example of my CU account. Every time I'm agreeing to everything that comes with the CU website.
And let me just also, you know, it can be really time consuming and everything to read the contract terms, but one thing you can do that is not time consuming and to do right away, but to be vigilant is before you hit click, you can oftentimes, like the example with the Ivory White is a good one. They sometimes, when it pops up, they've got little boxes checked.
Right. Already.
You need to uncheck. So when I said click happy, there's also, you gotta uncheck that box. So you still want your free sample, but you don't want to sign up for like horoscopes, then you uncheck that box. You want this or that, but you don't really want to receive the newsletter or have them sell your marketing information. You uncheck that box. So it's actually being cognizant before you hit continue or I agree that you uncheck boxes as well.
So a lot of these kind of tips go along really well with communicating and socializing online. So who's ever received a spam message or has sent out thousands of spam messages to their friends by accident? So 70% of the world's emails are spam, which is just crazy to me statistically. The basics again is just making sure that you understand that the web page does or does not have privacy or security settings, that you aren't sharing information if it's not necessary, and that you're just being very aware of phishing scams or sweepstakes scams. So just emails that kind of seem like they are not right. My grandma was telling me how the king of Namibia emailed her and needed like $10,000. So my grandma, A, there's no king of Namibia, because that's no, and B, like, you don't know him, what, stop emailing grandma, get off the computer. So just being aware of like weird emails coming, or like you won a new iPad, like you didn't win an iPad, like they're not just going to give you an iPad for no reason. Just being like hesitant to get emails.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
So what happens, or is there a way to prevent? My mother sent me an email and all of her other contacts to this random promotion, and then 2 days later one of my friends sent me the same link, but they didn't send those emails.
Somebody
did.
Somebody got your contact.
So, like, basically, someone got your mother's email account information and was able to log in under her name. So she has to like change her password.
Yep, she's gonna have to cleanse
You need to,
everything.
okay, yeah, close the account and
Okay.
open an account.
Basically, because that person has all of that access.
And whenever it's a link, a hyperlink, or something like that, where you're not familiar with the sender, don't open it. It's probably got a virus attached or something where they can basically, that's how they steal your personal information. And never, no bank, no legitimate anybody is going to say, oh, to update your PayPal account and all these things that look really legit. Total scams right away. And even if it looks real, if they're asking you for your account user and ID, your social security number, your bank account, call directly. Just call them up. They're never going to ask you for that information by email. And whenever you see any sort of a link like that, don't open it. Don't open it if it's not a trusted source, because that's so dangerous.
Or if it's a trusted source and it's not something they would normally
Exactly.
send you.
I just got one of those this morning. Yeah, and I knew right away, like she was.
And that's a phishing scam, is when someone kind of pretends to be someone they're
And
not.
look at what the actual email is. It's usually something really funky. Also, if you see misspellings in the email and things like that, seriously, then that's a giveaway, right? You know, it's like, oh my gosh, they don't even know what they're saying, and supposedly this is from the government. I don't think so.
So there's no way to really prevent it. You just have to totally.
Right.
Yeah, now you gotta start over.
And she probably opened something to begin with, so it's just being really aware.
Once the cat's out of the bag.
Right. And just on on the social networking side, just making sure that you are looking at like what information is being sent out. So this is my Facebook. Who can see my stuff, and who can contact me? Just making sure that you're aware of like all these social networks, like who can see what you're putting out there, and just being aware of that kind of thing. That's a great
Well,
one.
and also with Facebook, because I'm not kidding you, it destroyed my life like 5 years ago, and I'm still recovering from it. Like, check where your logins are coming from. I mean, I've had a login from California just here recently,
And there's ways that you
know,
can like
and-
put in steps, like if this isn't for my normal computer, please
Right.
ask this security question. And you can do that with your bank account and your online stuff. It's just kind of going through the settings and just asking for the extra layer of protection.
That's such a good point. Thank you, because they've made it more difficult.
well,
recently.
yeah, and they're
Facebook has.
changing it all
They
around.
do, and you have to be so careful with Facebook, and you have to go under all of those things, making sure things aren't going to friends of friends, making sure
Well,
that
it's-
all.
And
don't
even
put
that's your
birthdays-
friend, you know, that looks like your friend, but you know what? That person's not acting like
Don't
your
put
friend.
your
and-
birthday. If
yeah.
you put like there's certain information that is easy to use for identity theft. You don't want to be setting up all your insider information on Facebook.
Your confirmation. Like if they know where you were born and like, I mean, quite literally they can
Yeah.
do identity theft
Create
just
you.
through your church.
Yeah.
You know, no photo ID or anything.
The problem also though is that a lot of this stuff is actually public knowledge.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I don't know
And
how
that-
to, I mean,
And especially when you are linking all of your sites together, it makes it a lot. Like my LinkedIn's connected to Facebook's connected to IG. Like now they know where I work, they know my birthday, they know, and all those things make it really easy to be taken advantage of. And just being aware that all of these 3 sites now have really heavy security settings for me. So if you don't know me, you can't see it. That makes me feel a little bit better, but I also am aware that I'm putting myself out there for risk.
well, then there's this whole other section where people can like send you messages.
Right.
And, like you don't even know that that's there. Actually, and you have like 200 messages from God knows who in the universe, and I mean, but then the flip side of it, if you were to ask me about what you just said, is that's a really strong online presence. I mean, yes, they may know all of this stuff, but you know, it's not like, okay, here you are occupying your identity there online. Then here's this big hole of this person's unoccupied identity where they're able to like just fill it all in. And
it's just, the internet's so great and it allows so many things. You just open the door for so much information.
trouble.
And so whenever you're using a device that's not your own, just really make sure that you log out of the sites that you're on, and just, if you can wait to enter private sensitive information, wait till you're on a secured computer that maybe a family member owns, and you know that someone's not going on directly after you. And then we've discussed all of these general strategies that are just on one page for you. And then lastly, a lot of this stuff applies to our cellular devices. So if you just think about all the things that, if you have a smartphone that you have on your phone, I'm logged into my bank, I'm logged into my Facebook, my Gmail. Put a password on your phone, or have a time limit, so after an hour if you haven't used your phone, it freezes up and you have to enter a password in. It just will make life a lot more secure, because all of this information can be accessed if someone took your phone. So if something goes wrong, here are tons of different resources to go to. I think the biggest one is just keeping copies of all your correspondence. Yes, I hope that this makes everyone feel a lot happier while using the internet later today.
Now that we've made you all bright and see this afternoon, we're going to talk about identity theft.
So, even go a step further, right?
The good news is that there's a lot of ways to protect yourself.